Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the One Bry Guy, the Zilly Burple, here to give my 2 cents on what's going on in the sporting world, particularly what's happening in the NFL. And I think right now, to me, probably the biggest bit of news coming out of the NFL in Week 9 was the firing of Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Reich. This stands out to me because, as an Eagles fan, we all know what Frank Reich meant to the franchise. As the offensive coordinator under Doug Peterson back in 2017, he helped the Birds to win their first ever Super Bowl title. And from that point on, Frank Reich should forever be entitled. Entitled? Or I should say the other way around, that Eagles fans should be indebted to what Frank Reich contributed to help the team win their first ever Super Bowl title. And immediately following the success of 2017, Frank Reich was hired by the Colts as their new head coach in 2018, although not their first choice. Originally, it was Josh McDaniels who was hired, but he pulled a Bill Belichick and decided to go crawling back to Bill Belichick and the Patriots before the season had even begun. So Frank Reich became the second choice, and well, he was in the middle of his fifth year before he got the pink slip. But in his short stint, the Colts have been a competitive, scrappy bunch. They haven't been an overall bad team. Just certain things here and there, like with any team that's missing key pieces or just can't seem to get it together to click. But in his short stint, Frank's compiled a 33-1 record. The Colts even made the playoffs in his rookie season. They knocked off the Texans in the wild card round, I remember that, before losing to the Chiefs in the divisional round. And what nobody expected after 2018 is that would be Andrew Luck's final season, as he would retire early. And hey, you know what? Who can blame him? You got to do what's best for you. He was looking out for his health, but it really left the Colts as well as Frank in a bind, as pretty much that's been the position that the Colts have had trouble filling for the past few years. For whatever reason, they've not gone out and drafted anybody. Instead, they developed some kind of fetish where they just keep giving Frank washed up has-been quarterbacks to throw under center and thinking he was just going to work his magic with them. The Colts have literally had a different starting quarterback under center during Frank Reich's 4.5 years coaching. 2018, it was Andrew Luck. 2019, it was Jacoby Brissett. Does anybody remember that? Because I sure as hell don't. 2020 was Phillip Rivers, which wasn't too bad. They didn't make the playoffs, but were one and done. And then 2021, it was Carson Wentz. We all know how that worked out. You would have thought it would have been a match made in heaven, the two guys that helped bring a magical year to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017, but they just couldn't make it work in 2021 or with the Colts. So they still had a chance to make the playoffs, but they lost to the lowly Jaguars to close out the season. And I remember calling that. And everyone thought I was crazy, thinking there was no way the Colts were going to lose to the lowly Jags. And it happened. And, well, pick up the phone because I called it. And then this year, Matt Ryan, which, yeah, if anyone's been following the NFL up to this point and you've been seeing the highlights of the Colts games, it's just not happening. But is it really fair to put all the blame under the head coach and the quarterback position? Not entirely. But again, Frank can only do so much with what he's got to work with. And he's just not gotten much to work with from the Colts ownership. I really think Jim Irsay is possessed by Al Davis, the former Raiders owner. The guy that was notorious for doing something completely off the wall and asinine and thinking that it was just going to magically work and turn the Raiders into a Super Bowl contender. So Jim Irsay had the crazy idea thinking that the Colts could just go out, grab anybody, and it would just somehow magically work out. Not going to lie. 9 times out of 10, things just do happen, whether you least expect them to or not. Like my Eagles, for example. Did I expect them to be 8-0 at midway point here in this season? Absolutely not. You know, I was going to be happy if they were just a little more competitive and improved a little more from last year, but we'll get more into that later. So yeah, again, like the Colts are just an absolute mess. It's more than just the head coach and the quarterback. They need to revamp their offensive line. And yeah, just it's going to be quite a process for you Colts fans down the road. How long of a process, no one can really tell. But one thing's for certain, you're definitely not making the playoffs this year. Even if your quote unquote new interim head coach can somehow make something magical happen. Yes, let's talk about that. Excuse me. I need to get a drink of water first. Oh, man. Excuse me. Now we're getting back into cold weather out here in good old Pennsylvania. Ugh. Allergies and stuff. But yes, so to fill in the gap now, left by the firing of Frank Reich, the Colts brought in their former Pro Bowl center, Jeff Saturday, to fill the gap. And this strikes me as sort of, I'll say, interesting. I don't want to say it's asinine. Well, it kind of is. I don't want to say it's stupid, dumbfounded, because we've yet to see how it's going to play out. But it is interesting to say the least. You bring in a guy that has no coaching experience in the NFL level, no coaching experience in the college level. He has coached some high school football, but other than that, why are you bringing in a guy that wasn't even part of your coaching staff? Like, if I was, say, like, maybe next up to Frank Reich, I would be somewhat pissed that, really? You're bringing in a guy that wasn't even on the staff to be the interim coach? Why? I mean, I think overall, this was a PR move by Jim Irsay in the Colts office. Because Jeff Saturday is a well-known name for Indianapolis Colts fans. So I figured, if anything, this is just to sell tickets, just to kind of save what little bit of a season they have left. I mean, I can't think of a more logical reason than that. I mean, maybe they think because he was an offensive lineman, he can fix the offensive line issues. And, well, let's be honest, if you don't have a solid offensive line, your team ain't going to go far, no matter how good your quarterback is. Just ask Lamar Jackson. He's been lucky so far, but down the stretch, that's not going to cut it. So, there we go. That's my take on the state of the Indianapolis Colts after firing Frank Reich. So, what will become of old Frank? I'm sure he'll get a job somewhere else, where I honestly have no idea. It's a guessing game. Anyone who really needs an offensive coordinator or a head coach, or maybe he'll give the college level a shot. We'll see what happens. But I'm sure Frank will bounce back. He'll get a job somewhere. I mean, when you got a Super Bowl win on your resume, I would think you're almost guaranteed to find work somewhere. But of course, the speculation around social media is that, the Eagles should go after him. And all I have to say is, no. Believe me, I'm grateful for what, Frank Reich contributed 5 years ago, but the Eagles right now are 8-0 and have one of the best offenses in the league, almost, pretty much top 5 in almost every offensive category, with current offensive coordinator Shane, oh my God, forgive me if I botched this. I've watched several videos now of how to pronounce his last name correctly, and son of a bitch if I didn't just have a brain fart. Steichen? Steichen. Now, by that spelling, I would not think it would be pronounced Steichen. I thought it would be pronounced like Steichen or something. But anyway, yeah, like the Eagles don't need to go after Frank. Right now, it's not broke. No need to fix it. They're doing good. They're flying high with Stan. Nick Sirianni, I'm pretty sure they're okay for now. So I wish Frank well. And, well, since we're on the Eagles, let's just jump right into that. 8-0. Still the only undefeated team left in the NFL and a franchise best start. 8 wins, no losses. Although I gotta say, I was a little concerned because the one time I expect them to blow the shit out of an opponent and they actually played down to their competition. They pulled the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, oh my God, like really. And it didn't help that I had a couple beers. I was out with some friends that night. And the whole time I'm so frustrated. I'm like, come on, it's the Texans. Why are you having trouble with the Texans? Houston goes right down the field and scores. Are you freaking kidding me? And of all things, they had several like rookies starting for their team. Mainly this outstanding running back of theirs. Let's see if I can find his name. I wrote it down here. Yeah, Damian Pierce. Like, they just couldn't stop that sneaky little weasel. Like, what the frick, Philly? Like, oh my God, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. 14 all at the half. I'm like, usually in the second quarter, this is when you guys take off. But thankfully, they made the adjustments. It took control of the second half. And that was something I was more happy to see. That's something I have noticed. That since coming off the bye, and it's only been 2 games, I know, the Eagles have played a lot better consistently in the second half, which I really want to see more of. But again, they've yet to really play. They've really yet to play anybody since beating Dallas a few weeks ago. And that was when they didn't even have Dak Prescott. And yeah, oh my God, I just love how everybody and their mother's like, well, if the Cowboys had Dak Prescott, the Eagles would never have won that game. Oh, really? The same Dak Prescott you Cowboys fans booed off the field week 1 while he was hurt? Oh, yeah. Now you're backing him up. Now that you realize you're no longer in Rush you trust after he has one lousy game against your most hated rival. At least I think the Eagles are their most hated rival. In the division anyway, maybe, but Cowboys got several rivals anymore. Packers, 49ers, Steelers, the list is endless. What did I do in my water bottle? I lost my water bottle. How? What the fuck? Where's my water? Oh, there it is. Jesus, I couldn't see it. Oh, man. But, yeah. So, it'll be interesting come Christmas Eve when the Birds and the boys meet up again with Dak Prescott under center. Provided he doesn't get hurt again. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see who shuts who up. And, of course, I'm always rooting for my team. We always think that the Cowboys fans are the villains of the world. That's just how it works. Hoy. Let's see. What else we got here? So, yeah. After making the adjustments for the second half, the Birds take off and fly high in the second half to a 29-17 win. I apologize. I literally just hit a wall. Like I forgot what I was going to say after that. It's like the Eagles got the win, proved 8-0. I don't think there's really much else to touch on that game, but I guess anyway, it's to look at the overall standings. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, here's a story that I kind of skipped over because I was so excited to get to the Eagles and talk about them a little bit. So, How about the New York Jets pulling a stunner, knocking off the Bills 20-17? I didn't see that one coming, and I guess neither did the Bills fans. But the thing to point out here that's going to be concerning for you Buffalo fans, quarterback Josh Allen is last I heard anything was being evaluated for a UCL, that's a ulnar collateral ligament in his right elbow, which is his throwing arm. And apparently this is an injury he had like back in his rookie days, I think, and it forced him to miss like 4 games or something. So while this injury is serious for Buffalo, especially now that we're already midway through the season, at least you know it shouldn't be keeping him out permanently. But if it is serious, he'll miss some time, and it's a bad time for him to be missing some games, especially when they got the Minnesota Vikings coming into town. However, though, an interesting thing to point out, the backup quarterback for the Bills is Case Keenum, and they have Stephon Diggs at wide receiver. Keenum and Diggs, the Minneapolis Miracle. Should Case have to start this Sunday against the Vikings? How crazy would that be if him and Diggs could hook up for, say, a miraculous game-winning touchdown against their former team? That would be freaking wild. And man, I apologize. My God. Hope I'm not catching a cold. Man, my throat is just unbelievably dry tonight. Must be the air or something. But, okay, now that we've gotten through that, now I'll get back to what I was going to discuss, the current standings in the National Football League as they are. So right now in the AFC, the Bills are still the top seed, although the Chiefs are right there at 6-2 as well, but the Bills beat them earlier, so Bills currently hold the number 1 seed. The Ravens are in the mix, also a 6-win team, and the Titans are starting to get their swagger back. Although, let's be honest, the only thing the Titans have going for them is literally Derrick Henry. The wildcard teams are Jets, Dolphins, who are both 6 wins. So if you're a Bills fan right now, you gotta be sweating. Because you're like, are you freaking kidding me? This was supposed to be our division, and the Jets are playing good? The Dolphins are good. Well, the Dolphins were expected to be a playoff team this year anyway. But no one in their right mind had the Jets playing this well. And I can't figure it out myself. They're just a scrappy bunch, but for some reason, they're pulling off some upsets here. And I think it's mainly that young defense. And the final 7 seed right now is being held by the Chargers. The NFC standings are E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles, at 8-0. The Vikings, who haven't lost since being beaten by the Eagles on Monday Night Football in Week 2, they're the 2nd seed right now. The surprising Seahawks, led by Geno Smith, are the 3rd seed. And Brady and the lowly Bucks, with an under 500 record, leading the NFC South and holding the 4th seed. I really feel like the winner of the NFC South is going to have a losing record. I really do. And I kind of hope it'll be the Falcons. I mean, don't really matter to me. Falcons or Bucks. The current wildcard teams, Cowboys, Giants, who each have 6 wins. Yes, Eagles fans, be concerned. For when the Eagles do finally play these two, they have got to be on their A game. Now I remember what I was going to talk about. Now it came back to me. Like, son of a gun, I hate that. It's like, there was something you had on your mind, and for the life of you, you can't remember it. It's there, but you hit a damn wall, and you can't figure out how to open the damn door to get to it. So you decide to move on to something else, and then bam, it comes back and hits you. The Eagles playing the Texans. That first half that I was talking about, where the Eagles looked kind of off, I really feel like it was an ego thing. Like, I feel like the Eagles felt like that they are this big, this big deal, which they are right now, but I think it really caught up to them that night. They're going into that game thinking that this should be an easy win, and it really should have been. And I think the Texans capitalized on that. The Eagles had a very big head and almost got a reality check. That first half was enough for them to wake up and realize, okay, maybe we're not that, maybe we're not that big a deal yet. Still got some things to sort out. So let's regroup. Let's get back to what works and beat this team like we should, and we'll go from there. So yeah, in a way, I'm kind of glad maybe this was the wake-up call that they needed, that, hey, just because the schedule's heavily in your favor doesn't mean you need to kind of go into cruise control. You need to keep playing your A game day in and day out. Whilst most of these teams suck and have a losing record, you still got to play your A game, okay? You still got to give them a little bit of respect. So as long as the Birds can do that, I really feel like they could run the table. Because at this point, I feel like really the only teams that can knock the Eagles off are the Giants and the Cowboys. They do play the Titans coming up, but all the Titans have is Derrick Henry. If the Birds shut him down and jump out early, Tennessee's fucked. I mean, I know Mike Vrabel and that defense are kind of renowned, but I'm not really concerned about them. Because if anything, that'll be the A.J. Brown revenge game. You know he'll want to stick it to his former squad. So again, the only two teams I see knocking off the Birds are the Giants and the Boys. And I know, God help me, I hope it doesn't come down to that. But if it does, then the Eagles will definitely run the tables in the playoffs. So who knows? But I digress. Did I say who was holding the last wild card spot in the NFC? No, I didn't. Currently, the 7th seed in the NFC is the 49ers. Now, here's something interesting. The Washington Commanders are in the hunt. They are a 5-win team. So how interesting would it be if all 4 NFC East teams could make the playoffs? Everyone's been talking about how the East is the beast this year. So how cool would that be if all 4 teams made the playoffs? And here's something else interesting. Let's say the current division champions stand as they are. Vikings at 2, Seahawks at 3, and the Bucks at 4. The Cowboys would face the Bucks, who they lost to in week 1. Giants would face the Seahawks, who they lost to here not too long ago. And the Commanders would face the Vikings, who they just lost to this past Sunday. And let's say, and as always, my science is, if your team loses the regular season meeting, more often than not, they win the playoff meeting. So how crazy would that be? All 4 NFC East teams make the playoffs, and then they all meet each other in the divisional round, and inevitably we have, Eagles versus, oh dear God, Cowboys for the NFC Championship, or Giants. The Eagles would face the Commanders in the first round either way, and God help me if they should blow that. But no, it should be a 3-0 series season sweep against the Commanders. Speaking of which, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Eagles host the Commanders Monday Night Football next week, and should be no excuse why they can't win that one and sweep the first ever season series with the Washington Commanders. I just thought that was something interesting to point out there, that all 4 NFC East teams can make the playoffs, and 3 of them could get payback for the teams they've lost to in the regular season. Now, looking at the AFC picture again, the Patriots are in the hunt, also a 5-win team. So how interesting would that be if the AFC East, all 4 teams can make the playoffs? And you know what? Nobody's really talking about the AFC East. Everyone's saying that the NFC East is the best division in football. Well, what about the AFC East? The Dolphins have made some serious noise. They're a strong competitor. They've got an explosive offense and a very stingy defense. You got the New York Jets, scrappy bunch here, taking it to everybody and knocking some heads. The Patriots are, well, basically the Commanders of the AFC. You can't sleep on them. They're there, but still, a team that I don't think would go far even if they got in. So I really hope it plays out that way. The whole AFC East and the whole NFC East make the playoffs. To me, that would be freaking crazy. The East is truly the beast. All right. Looking to see if I had anything else written down, but no, I think that about covers it. So, hey, if anybody tunes in to watch this video, I'm grateful. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. If you got some pointers, I'm more than all ears. I am open to constructive criticism. Anything I can do to improve myself in this channel, I am open to it. But there is one more piece of business I do need to address. You do notice I'm still wearing the Phillies hat. It's heartbreaking. I was honestly really hoping that Thursday night that they would have closed it out. The same time the Eagles go 8-0, the Phillies win the World Series. Both the Eagles beating the Houston Texans and the Phillies conquering the Houston Astros, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. I mean, damn, it's like, to me, that's just a cruel play by fate, Like, how the fuck do you let the Phillies not only stumble into the playoffs, had the 6th seed not been initiated, Phillies would have missed the playoffs altogether. And we probably would have been talking about the Padres playing the Astros. But still, I feel like it was a cruel play by fate. Yes, I'm happy that the Phillies got to the World Series. What an incredible run it was. The way they stumbled into the postseason, the way they came back in Game 1 against the Cardinals, took that series, dominated the Braves, and outlasted the Padres. But what can I say? I'm still bitter. Call me selfish, call me a sore loser. Hey, your team gets that far. You want them to win it all, man. I mean, damn, and after the way they came back in Game 1, they were down 5-0 and beat Houston 6-5. And then blew them out 7-0 in Game 3. You think to yourself, they got a chance. But I guess give the Astros credit. Everybody will say that they cheated somehow and all that shit, but it's like, look, we're not there. We can speculate all we want, but by the end of the day, the end result doesn't change. The Astros are the 2022 World Series champions, so congrats to you guys. Doesn't mean I still can't be bitter about it. But I guess the only good thing to come out of it is Dusty Baker finally getting his World Series win. It's hard to believe he's been in the game for so long. So many good teams he's coached. And this is his first ever World Series championship. Wow. That's insane. That would be the equivalent if Marty Schottenheimer ever won a Super Bowl in the NFL. But not to get off topic. So, congrats to the Houston Astros. I mean, damn. I think that Game 4 is what really kind of reestablished control for Houston. Because, damn, a combined no-hit shutout. I mean, hey, we can be glad the Phillies bounced back. They at least fought. They made a game. They made it a series. It was definitely a good series. The Phillies gave it their best. You can say they brought out the best in the Astros. So, still though, fate, football, baseball gods, fuck you. You get my team that far and get my hopes up only to pull the rug out from under all of us. You bastards. Well, I think it's time for me to wrap up this video. I apologize. My throat is just crazy dry. I think it's just the weather. It's getting cold now, and if you don't drink enough water, you're going to shrivel up like a prune or something. But to officially close the book on the Philly season, I think there's only one song that is completely appropriate, and that is The Party's Over by Willie Nelson. So again, I thank you all for watching this video. Thumbs up if you would. I'd appreciate that. Subscribe. And again, if you got any choice words for me, I'm more than happy to hear. All right. Y'all have a good night. And it's on to week 10 in the NFL and looking ahead to the next baseball season.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all the things must end. Call it a night. The party's over. And tomorrow starts the same old thing again.
Thank you, Philadelphia Phillies. What an incredible run. You stumbled through September, but you got in. You beat the Cards, the Braves, the Padres, but couldn't close the deal against those fucking Astros. And now the party's over. Out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party's over. I apologize for my terrible singing. I'm just going to turn over to Willie. This is a catchy song. Of course, then again, I got to worry about copyright infringement. So, going to wrap it up here. The party's over, Phillies. Time to rest the hat, put away all the Phillies gear, and totally focus on the Eagles. Yeah, don't talk to me about the Flyers and the Sixers. They suck. Alrighty, folks. Time to turn out the lights. The party's over. Good night, y'all. This is the Bride Guy, Zilly Burple, signing off.